Good evening, and welcome to the Conservation Commission meeting of February 5th, 2020. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce our two new members, James McMullen on the end and Daniel Ronan in the middle. I want to thank them for stepping up to the plate. Closer. All right, first thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Since you two gentlemen aren't here, you're going to abstain from those minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting of January 8th?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And chair votes aye as well. I'm going to take this a little out of order because this young gentleman here has to go home and do his homework. We're going to skip to item H. This is a request for determination of applicability for Mary and Fred Herbert at 306 Troll Road, map 24, lot 46. If you come up and introduce yourself, please, and sign the sign-in sheet.
That's it. I'm Fred Hebert, 306 Troll Road. My wife, Mary.
You can have a seat. And you're here for, you want to give us a...
We'll be connecting to town sewer.
Okay, so it is town sewer. And we are near the wetlands, but we're within the parameters. And Stefan, you have any issues?
No, no concerns. I would just recommend an erosion control, and I can help you figure out where to put that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Would anybody like to speak on 306 Troll Road? Seeing none. Board members, any questions?
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Questions? No questions.
No
Okay.
questions.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve. What are we requesting? Determination of applicability, correct? So we need a negative determination. So I'll entertain a motion for a negative determination
So moved.
for Fred Mary Herbert, 306 Troll Road, map 24, lot 46.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Okay, thank you. You're all set. Do your homework. All right. Next on the agenda is item A. This is a continued public hearing, notice of intent, Scott Kelly, R.J. Kelly and Company Incorporated, Burt Road Development, map 115, lot 4, Route 93, map 115, lot 5, Route 93, map 115, lot 6, Route 93, map 115, lot 7, off of South Street land, and map 115, lot 8, Route 93 and beyond, DEP number 3051093. This applicant is requesting a continuance to March 4th. Is there anyone here for that? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to continue the applicant's request to March 4th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Okay, now we're on to item B, public hearing, notice of intent, Richard Montori, Town Manager, 984 Main Street, map and lot 4779, 47-80, 47-81, and 48-93, DEP number 3051073. You can introduce yourself for the record and then just sign the sign-in sheet, please.
Sure. My name is Lance Hill. I work for Par Corporation. We're the civil engineer for the proposed fire station project.
Okay, and you want to speak on, the floor is yours.
All right, great. Thank you again for having us back here. Just a recap of this particular project. It is a proposed fire station on town-owned land. This was originally submitted about a year ago, and it included the project as we see now, with some parking on alternate property that is to the rear of the proposed building. At that time, there was quite a few resource area impacts and that we were working through with the commission and with the town. Since that time, the town has negotiated some land transfer and lease agreements on adjacent properties, which made the need for parking to the rear of the building not necessary anymore. So as we revised the plan for that, the resource area impacts were severely limited. Currently, we're only impacting into the 100-foot buffer zone, about 1,000 square feet, I believe. We have submitted the plans to the town. We received some comments back from the town engineer. Had a conversation with him today on those. They're all relatively minor and easy to address. He did have a couple of comments with the proposed drainage system that is out front, which will require a little bit of rework, but all of the flow going to the subsurface infiltration system is actually flowing away from the resource areas and shouldn't have any impact on that.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Would anybody in the public like to speak? Seeing none. Board members. Mr. Robacher.
No, no issues.
Mr. Sheehan.
No, I have no questions.
Mr. McMullen.
Questions?
No questions. Of course, I have a question. That the 1,000 square feet, what is the percentage of that in the buffer zone?
In the buffer zone of that,
Right. Percentage-wise, within the 10%, I am assuming. It looks it.
yeah, it's very tiny as in relation to the overall buffer zone there. It extends about 15 feet in from the 100-foot line.
Oh, okay. That was the only question I had. And you got the town manager's, I mean, not the town manager, town engineer's comments, correct? You just said that. And most of that is going to be dealt with by the planning board and not this board because,
Almost all the comments are related, planning board related, which we are in process of addressing prior to their approval.
okay, thank you. Again, nobody in the public? Seeing none. Stefania, any issues?
No, this is a big improvement from what was originally designed. The only thing I will say, if for some reason there's big changes because of the planning board, just know you'll have to come back for some type of change depending on what the change is.
Understood.
Okay. With all that being said, I'll entertain a motion to approve the notice of intent for Richard Montori, Town Manager, 984 Main Street, map in lot 47-79, 47-80, 48-81, and 48-93, DEP number 3051073. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, next on the agenda is a continued public hearing notice of intent, John Faneros, ACC Realty, 1037 North Street, in 1547, 1553, 156 Andover Street, map 39, lots 45-48, DEP number 3051077.
Thank you, Mr.
Introduce
Chairman.
yourself.
Andy Street, Civil Design Consultants.
Okay.
So we recently submitted the package you have before you today. Just today, we got another comment from the fire department, which could impact the design. We're still trying to digest it a little bit and figure out what could happen next. So this kind of happened late in the day, so really what I'm here for is just to formally request a continuance in person while we kind of deal with this fire department comment. So, yeah, that's all I've got for tonight, just requesting that.
Okay.
If there are questions, I'm certainly happy to answer them, but I
Well,
just
I'm
didn't
going to
want
have to, we did open the hearing, so I am going to ask somebody, anybody
Sure.
in the public want to speak on this? Seeing none. Board members.
I have no question at this time.
No questions.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue.
Move.
Public hearing, notice of intent, John Faneros, ACC Realty, 1037 North Street, and 1547, 1553, 156th Street, Andover Street, map 39, lots 45-48, DEP number 305107. Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you.
I just want to clarify, February 19th?
Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully,
All right.
we'll have it resolved by then. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is a continued public hearing from January 8, 2000. A public hearing, notice of intent, Richard Montori, Town Manager, Tewksbury, 135 Pleasant Street, map 47, lot 41, DEP 305-1103. You can introduce yourself and sign in the sign-in sheet, please.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, thank you.
Good evening. Peter Collins with CBRE, working on behalf of the Elementary School Building Committee in reference to the town manager.
It's Bill Beatrice from Flansburgh Architects. We're the architects for the project.
And my name is Bill Maher with Niche Engineering. We are the civil consultants for the project.
Okay, thank you. Okay, gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Just in reference to the elementary school project, we're here this evening for the civil engineering team to share with the commission some of the notice of intent information that we've had discussions with the conservation officer as well. So I'm going to turn it over to the design team members from the Flansburgh Architectural Office and the Niche Engineering Office.
Okay.
We are, in the permitting process, we are currently going through the planning board submissions. We've had several meetings with the planning board, and this is, a continuation of that process with Conscom. So I'll turn it over to Bill Maher to kind of walk us through what we've done to date and where we are.
Well, up on the easel, you can see the existing conditions for the school site. Right now, I'm running the off ceiling.
Can you turn that so the audience could see it too, please? Thank you. Can everybody see? Move it up forward a little bit. Mr. Robacher, you can see it, right?
Yeah, I can see
Okay.
it. Oh, good.
This shaded area of the site is existing Ryan School. This shaded area is existing football field. And these shaded areas represent the existing wetlands that are on site. This dark blue line is the Marshall Brook, which defines the westerly property line for the site. This hatched area in here is the wetlands. And then we have various shades of blue that depict the buffer zones. The darker shade of these three is from the edge of the wetlands to the 25-foot no disturb zone. The middle buffer, the middle shade is a 25-foot no disturb zone to the 50-foot no disturb zone, and then the outer patch is to the 100-foot buffer zone from the bordering vegetated wetlands. And that's the same on this end, too. We've also got a hatched-in area here along this line, which is the 200-foot riverfront area for the Marshall Brook. And in addition, we also have an area outlined for the FEMA map flood elevation as it's shown right now, based on the latest FEMA maps, or flood insurance rate maps. And this dark red line is the elevation 115 contour. And the reason that I point those two out is that we currently have a submission to FEMA to remove the designation of their FEMA line as it's shown on their latest firm map from this dash location to the solid red line here. We have had some communication with FEMA back in December, and again last month. We have sent them updated information that they have requested, be it flood certificates and flood elevation forms. Those have all been submitted, and they are included in the revised packet dated January 17th to the commission. We also have a isolated vernal pool on the northerly central part of the site, and we have the buffer zones associated with that, shown in the color shades. Again, similar to what we have for the wetlands. Any questions at this time?
Now, was this when we did the determination of applicability,
The,
has that changed?
ANRAD?
Yeah, the ANRAD. Has that changed since that?
No, it's been.
It hasn't, okay.
No, we were before this commission back in October, when we filed the ANRAD. There were a couple of flags that were adjusted based on our site walk with the board's consultants in this area of the site, and I believe it was a couple of areas over in this site as well too. Just some flags moving about 10, 15 feet or so.
Right, but that was what was improved on the ORAD.
Correct.
Okay.
The ORAD was filed with the Middlesex Registry of Deeds and a copy given to Safania. So to our intent, there's no issues with that remaining. Oh, and one thing more that I did point out is that to access this section of the site because of the wetlands here, there is currently a dirt road or a dirt cart path from the existing detention basin for the Ryan School that crosses over into this area to the southwest. There are two 12-inch corrugated metal pipes for drainage that distributes water from this side from the southern side of that to the northern side. And what you see in front of you now is the planned site development for the new school. The existing Ryan School is staying where it is. We've got the existing field, Doucette Field, is going to be reconstructed in a new location to the west of the Ryan School and the proposed new school. We are, we have a number of these rectangular blocks throughout the site, and that is to handle the stormwater runoff from the site. Currently, there is no on-site stormwater system other than the detention basin that exists here, and that was man-made as well for the Ryan School project. We have a new roadway that is connecting from the existing parking lot of the Ryan School that will traverse around the westerly part of the site and come around to the east, where it will dump out traffic onto Pleasant Street. This is basically going to be a one-way in to the site for both schools, and then exiting the site out onto Pleasant Street in this location. As I mentioned, we've got a new field here with bleachers on the westerly side of the field. We have lights and, so forth, for that proposed field. To access this portion of the site, which the town would like to do for a field in the southwest corner of the site, we are going to construct a new roadway over the path of the existing roadway where we are impacting some of the wetlands in this location here. We're going to remove the existing two 12-inch culverts and replace it with a box culvert, a concrete precast box culvert, and with wing walls on each side of it. And this roadway will have a sidewalk for people to access from here, down to the school site. We have a parking lot, which will also serve as a snow storage area during the wintertime for stockpiles from the site. But the drainage for this parking lot will be handled with a infiltration basin to the north of the proposed field in this section of the site. The Vernal Pool, we are looking to maintain the existing Vernal Pool in its current state. We are going to maintain the 25-foot buffer zone around. Of course, we will, for the entire site, just like this area and around the entire site, we'll have erosion controls for the entire area, silt sacks for catch basins and things of that nature. And as far as these subsurface infiltration systems, we are collecting runoff, be it from buildings, be it from parking lots, driveways, things of that nature, walkways, and so forth. All of the runoff from the site will be directed towards a series of catch basins that are deep sump put in catch basins. They will also have a water quality unit prior to discharging into the subsurface infiltration systems. We have overflows in specific locations to handle the outflow of water from these recharge systems. We've got two to the southwest of the Ryan School, and we have one to the northwest of the field, of the new field. And then some of the runoff that we're handling to the north of the site, we are collecting and discharging into a water quality swale along the northern edge of the border. And all of these outflows will work their way towards the wetlands. We conducted test pits in all of the locations or in close proximity to these systems, and we found all medium to coarse sandy material. The town was out there, the town engineer's office was out during that testing, and they observed not only the soil conditions, but also the seasonal high groundwater elevation that was established based on soil modeling, encountered water or bottom of test hole. Other than that, I have nothing more to offer at this time.
This is a public hearing. Would anybody like to speak?
Name's Greg Mann, 6 Monroe Circle. I'm an abutter to this particular. So I have a few questions. First of all, with the letter of intent that we got, I don't understand. It says the applicant has filed a notice of intent with the Burlington Conservation Commission. How does that come to play in?
This is the letter. Meant to say, obviously, Tewksbury Conservation Commission.
Okay. Don't understand that. Okay, so so the floodplain still is in existence the way it has always been. It's coming out into the football field. You're still in the process of going through the paperwork to get that straightened out.
Correct. As I mentioned, all of the paperwork has been filed with FEMA, and the latest was 3 weeks ago, and we have not heard a single thing from them since.
Okay, so that's been roughly 3 months since this paperwork has been in.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So I'm just stating that there's some sort of delay going on there, because you had mentioned at the planning board meeting that 3 months ago, that it would take 2 to 3 weeks to get this straightened out. And it's been 3 months. So I have a little bit of a concern there that something else is going on there. With the way the plan's situated, I see it crossing a number of no-build areas. Down in the corner, there's a road going across. Coming up, it's going across no-build area. Then you're coming into the Vernal Pool. They say they're giving 25-foot no-build. I thought a Vernal Pool is like 100-foot. And from what I understand, the committee does have the ability to put in a variance for that. And I'm just a little concerned that if you do put the variance in, I'd like to know where, because they are filling in this area, where are they replicating this wetlands on the site?
In this location, and then for compensatory storage in this location.
Aren't those wetlands already?
No.
I thought you just said that this whole area,
They're replicating next to the wetlands, which is where you would replicate.
so I'm a little concerned. I thought this was told that this was all wetlands here.
This gray shaded area in here, this is the wetlands, and then these are the buffer zones off of that. We can do work within these buffer zones, and that's where our replication areas are, as far as compensatory storage, and then up in this area for wetland replication.
Could you speak into the microphone so
Sure.
people at home can hear you, please?
This area here is for the compensatory storage in this location and up on this side of the site. And we're also replicating some wetlands in this area because of the wetlands that we're filling in to construct this roadway system.
I have a question about the detention pond, which is roughly here, I believe. It was cited that the pond could be filled in because of the fact that, because it was, let me see, I gotta get it right here. Constructed after 1996, and there was a law that says that it doesn't fall into under protection in 1996. But I looked up into the town. Well, first of all, that law, is that a state law or a federal law?
That's in the Wetlands Protection Act, so,
Okay, from town of Tewksbury?
the State Wetlands Protection Act.
State one. Okay, because I have the Town of Tewksbury Conservation Commission Wetlands Protection Act, and it states ponds shall include any substantially open bottom of fresh water with a surface area observed or recorded within 10 years prior to the date of application. So if we say that we put this in an application as, let's say 2018, this was definitely in existence at that time, and says ponds, let me see, of at least 5,000 square feet. Ponds may be either naturally occurring or made by impoundment, excavation, or otherwise. Pond shall be standing water except for periods of extreme drought. For this purpose of definition, extended drought shall be defined at 310 CMR 10.58.2 as it may be amended. So if you're going to fill this in, I believe, that, I mean, you could go for a variance because the town Conservation Commission has it, but I want to state that they're going by this state law, but the town has another law that supersedes it, as far as I am concerned. And if you want to put in a variance, like, it's within your power, I believe.
I do just want to mention that it was clarified in the order of resource area delineation that was done in the fall. So that was considered a stormwater structure, and that was taken care of in that permit. So we won't be looking at that in this permit.
So you're stating that you're not going to go by this town ordinance?
So what I'm saying is that was dealt with through the ANRAD process, which was already done. So those type of wetland delineations will not be looked at in this application.
Okay, could you please explain what the ANRAD is?
When they came in the fall to delineate the wetlands and get that confirmed.
Is that with the independent survey of it?
What do
You
you
had an
mean?
independent person come in
No,
and
they
check
came
the-
in the fall. Remember, there was the public hearing for the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation in the fall. That was to take care of the wetlands. So that was already done.
Okay, so we can't bring up something that's,
That's something that's already been determined.
okay, I understand. I'm a little concerned about, one of the things that they stated was the fact that these new drain systems were going to take care of all the water flow. And I kept on saying, well, you're putting in a building, roadways, parking lots, and the field is going to be artificial turf, so there is no drainage that's going to happen. The present field is natural grass. That whole area is all natural grass, so it naturally just leaches through it. And they said, well, we're putting in these drains and that will take care of everything. I just found out that they are removing, there was 10 drains, they've dropped it down to 7 drains, so you've lost 70% of your drainage. And I'm trying to figure out, well, is that going to work? You had stated that you were going to talk with the town, you were talking with the town engineer at the planning board. Has that has anything been said about that? Has it been decided on?
Yes, that the, systems as designed, the 6 recharge underground systems, as well as the infiltration basin that we have on the site there, can handle the runoff for the site, up to a 100-year storm events.
Has the town engineer agreed with this?
Yes, we have, had discussions, with them on our design intents and what we are providing. And to my knowledge, he has not commented on anything in that order. We are required, based on the Stormwater Management Act by DEP, that based on the impervious area of the site, that we need to provide more than 22,000 square feet, 22,000 cubic feet of storage volume on the site. And at this time, we have roughly 60,000 cubic feet. So we are more than providing additional volume with these recharge systems.
Okay, you're saying this. My question is, has the town engineer agreed with this?
Stormwater is still under review by the town. So that's still being
under
done.
review. So it has not been determined that this is actually going to work?
It's still being reviewed.
According to the town engineer. Is that correct?
The
Under
short answer
review,
to your
under
question is,
review.
yes, we're reviewing it. Our calculations were submitted. We are conversing with the town engineer, regularly, and it's under review at the moment. That's the short answer to your question.
Okay. Well, thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak?
Phyllis Skiblin, 11 Monroe Circle. I'm across the street from the butters there. I just had a question. Regarding you had said that there's going to be some wetlands replication, like right in here, right?
Yes.
And it's right next to it or over it? I don't know. Are those bleachers going to be right over that replicated area? Because it's kind of a narrow area there.
No, they will not be over the replicated area.
And what exactly this is the first time we're seeing, is this a new map that was just, because we haven't seen this map before?
We prepared it for tonight's meeting.
Okay, so it is new. All right. And what is that red line that you said?
That's based on a survey that our firm performed for the site, that is the 115 contour elevation.
Which means,
Which,
The
which indicates the actual location of the 115 contour compared to the FEMA designated 115 contour elevation.
well, what does that signify?
That's the flood.
Is the microphone on?
I'm sorry? Is it not on? Yeah, it's on. All right, so then are you saying that this line is going away?
Correct, that's our intent, yes.
Okay. The other question I had is on earlier designs, there was this huge basin right in the middle of this field.
Yes,
Do they feel like that's not needed anymore?
correct.
Okay, I just want to just say a little story about a neighbor of ours. I just heard today, in fact, who lives like right in here somewhere. That with rains that happened in December, and her house gets flooded in the cellar continuously with her sump pumps, and she has to replace them twice a year because there's so much water with no development there. It's like, and now this drain is being taken away. It's like, is her house going to float away? I mean, our question is there enough being done to take care of the water runoff because of all this, because it's so wet here to begin with?
Correct. That is why we have these infiltration systems. All of these were designed to handle the runoff on the site and to reduce any water runoff that goes to any of the abutting properties. So we are required to perform that action. That we cannot exceed whatever runs off the site now for stormwater. We can't exceed that, by DEP stormwater standards. So all of these systems have been constructed, designed to handle that runoff. Like I said, to 100-year storm events, so that there is less runoff going to the abutting properties. So we're not exacerbating any problem. We're removing a portion of the stormwater that flows in their direction.
I'm concerned about the water and the removal of this. It was huge, right? And that was to me, I thought it was a selling point. Oh, there's going to be a big drainage right in the middle, and all of a sudden it's gone. And all I see is flooding happening. And I understand, but can you prove it? Or it's because those are all our homes right over here that we're concerned about.
Well, based on our utility design for the stormwater, system, everything will flow towards these, systems, be it catch basins, swales, things of that nature, and dump into these subsurface infiltration systems or the infiltration basin to the southwest there, and they'll recharge the groundwater, and then anything that spills over will be discharged to the wetlands, in those 4 spots that we have there. But that system, which I know you're talking about, was removed because of everything else that we have in here. Early on, when we did our due diligence for design, we had a system in there because we didn't know what the soils were like at that time, because we had not done any test pits. We really hadn't furthered along the stormwater design, for the project. So we made allowances to have some of these systems, scattered in other areas for the total of 10 that was discussed earlier by Mr. Mann. So, but, based on all of our calculations that we have performed for this site here, these 6 infiltration basins and the 1 infiltration basin will handle the runoff from that site.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would anybody else like to speak? Seeing none. Board members. Mr. Rob Buckman. What's that?
Am I allowed to vote in this one?
No.
Or- No?
Yes.
Am I allowed to ask questions?
Continue it, so.
Right. Yes, we will.
I think that, we're going to be continuing this.
Yes.
I think with the new notice of intent, it's a lot for us to digest since we just received it. So what I would suggest is, number one, like the gentleman said, have your notice of intent changed to Tewksbury, Mass. And not Burlington. I'd appreciate that, And nobody else in the audience want to speak, so I'm going to make a motion to continue to our next meeting. Will you guys be?
Do you want to open it if anyone has comments?
I just asked them. Do you have any comments?
No.
Did you have?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
had
okay.
one. Just real quick, the Vernal Pool and the road going to this parking lot, you said there's a sidewalk. Is there anything in place to restrict access for people to only be on that sidewalk? And same thing with the Vernal Pool, anything to restrict access so people can't go trampling into that area?
Right, well, with the Vernal Pool, we're going to have a fence
All right.
around the system there so that, nobody can trample it.
All right.
It's that way right now, except on the northern side of the site. It's pretty open from the abutters end of the property, towards that, area there. So, but we are planning to fence in that area so that nobody tramples through the Vernal Pool
All right,
area.
thank you.
And I do have one more question. On the grandstands are going to be on the left-hand side?
Of that field, correct.
Okay.
The bleachers, yes.
And this is just food for thought, because I will bring it up. People go into stands and eat popcorn and they eat stuff, and trash flows out, and it goes down underneath. What preventative measures are you going to have for that not happening? Or are you going to fence around underneath the stands? Or?
It's fenced.
Oh, it is fenced?
Yeah, and the bleachers, I know they were, I think somebody pointed to these as the bleachers. The bleachers are actually right here. So they're on, they're right adjacent to the field, and everything here will be fenced in.
Okay.
And the fence comes around and kind of connects to the field house here, so the spectators kind of enter through this area, and they're in this fenced-in, enclosed athletic complex there.
Okay, the last question I have is during construction, if it gets off the ground here, do you have a plan to store construction vehicles at night? Hydraulic fluid could leak. Is there a specific plan you're going to come up with?
Right, well, the contractor, needs to provide a site logistics plan.
Right.
In that, he will identify his areas for, his vehicle storage and, so forth, and to have spill prevention kits and the like on the site. But that's part of the requirements that we, indicate in the stormwater report and/or the NOI report.
All right, so the contractor is going to have that plan, which would have to go to the planning board. But I'm going to make, if this thing goes through, I am going to make that part of a contingent,
Yes,
okay?
Yes.
Just so you're aware.
yes, that's fine.
Any other questions? Seeing none.
I want to just clarify. So you said to change it so that the notice says Tewksbury. Are you asking them to re-notify all of the abutters for this project? Because that's That's a big,
I don't think you have to.
okay, so how would
because
you
it
want them
was-
to handle
I'm
that?
sure it was a Scrivener's error, you know, but I would like the application to say Tewksbury on it, not Burlington.
Wait, well, the application does say.
Yeah,
It does
I
say
think he was referring to the legal notice.
Correct, the notification to the abutters about the hearing.
Okay.
No, that says Burlington Conservation Commission.
Okay.
That's the only
Oh, okay. That was
documents,
it? I thought it
yes.
Yeah, all right. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to continue.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Continue the next meeting, correct?
16.
Good night.
19th.
Okay, next on the agenda is continued from January 8, 2020, public hearing, notice of intent. John Mangano, 371 Foster Road, map 57, lot 207, DEP 3051104. How are you? Okay, we'll just post, we'll delay that. Okay, so next is going to be request for determination of applicability. David Modisha, manager of 71 Newbury Street Properties, LLC, 150 Dascom Road, Andover, Mass., map 133, lot 26. Can you introduce yourself for the record, please?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Jamie Cutlass, attorney here in Tewksbury, for the applicant David Monica and 71 Newbury Street. He wants to erect an electronic billboard at 150 Dascom Road.
Okay. Stefania, any questions or concerns?
No, so I went out to the site and took a look at the area and the wetlands and where the billboard was going to go. The only question I had is about dewatering and if there was, if they suspected that there would be any dewatering. They didn't think so, so what I would just say is if there are, just make sure there's proper dewatering techniques, since you will be digging pretty far into the ground, and then an erosion control should be used, of
Yeah, I
course.
think you had them on the plans, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a public hearing. Would anybody like to speak? Seeing none. Board members. Mr. Rohrbach, any
No questions, no.
Mr. Sheehan,
No, I'm good.
McMullen,
No questions.
Veronin.
No questions.
I think I'm all set. All right, I don't have an issue with it. Everything looks to be in order. Okay, so we did negative determination. Can I have a motion for a negative determination?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, thank you, members.
Did I hear you?
Oh, thank you.
All right, now we have another request determination for applicability, JCG Investments LLC, 50 Long Meadow Drive, map 26, lot 103.
You just want to state your name and address.
James C. Gattuso, JCG Investments, 100 Pierford Boulevard, Boston, Mass. 02210.
Any issues, Stefania?
So I had spoken to the applicant today just about going out to the site and getting a little bit more information on exactly what they plan on doing. It is requested as a demo rebuild. There's some old foundations. So I was just kind of getting an idea of if they were building right on the old foundations, if they were adding any decks, stairs, if there would be any grading, vegetation cutting. There was a lot of trash behind the house, so I was just asking if that would be removed. They said that it would be. So, I mean, my only concern is that it's pretty close to the wetlands, but it should be staying in the same foundation, so, I mean, there shouldn't be any issues, just as long as there's no additional work on what is already there. And then I asked him to take a look at any vegetation, because this would be the time to ask for that, if there were any trees that needed to be removed, because there's a lot of overgrowth in the back of the house, so.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Would anybody like to speak? Seeing none. Board members?
No
Rebecca.
questions.
You're going to use the same foundation over, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that block or,
It's a 10-inch poured concrete, and I do have a structural engineering report here
okay,
from structural
that's a good thing for yourself, yeah?
Yes.
No, I'm good.
The wetlands that it borders, it's across the street, right? Am I understanding that correctly?
It's only in the rear, sir.
It's only what?
In the rear.
Oh, it's in the, all right.
Mr. McMullen?
No questions.
Is this on town sewer?
Yes, sir.
It is, okay. That's the only question I have. All right, we need a negative.
Yes, I would say, I don't know if there's gonna be any grading or anything, I'm sure there's not, but it might still be a good idea to have some kind of erosion control or even a construction fence to keep just any of the debris from getting into the wetlands, since it is kind of right there. And then, like I said, if there's any additional vegetation, you'll have to come back and get approval for that, or any decks or anything like that. Okay?
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for a negative determination.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
You got here yet? No? Okay. JCG Investments. We already did he went home to do his homework. All right, public hearing, notice of intent. Pepdi Corporation, 600 Woburn Street, map 3, lot 82, DEP number pending.
I saw him. Oh.
Sorry. Can I use this one too?
Yeah.
All set?
Okay, if you can introduce yourself and sign the sheet for the record.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Gene Sullivan. I'm an engineer. My office is in Wilmington, Mass. I'm representing Pepdi Corporation, who's the owner of the property at 600 Woburn Street, where we filed a notice of intent. And I'll give you an introduction to our project and what we're trying to do. You want me to use a mic over there, or can I just
Yes,
stand?
if you go over there, use the microphone.
Okay, the property is right on the Bellwrecker line down the end of Woburn Street. It's bordered on the north by a lot of residential areas. Coming down, there's a self-storage building up here just to orientate you. Delaware Valley is the company that's in this existing yellow building. They're a fabrics company. They manufacture fabric for like cars and boats, rug mats and stuff like that, that type of thing. We were in here about 2010 to do a small addition off the front of the building. It's about 9,000 square feet. There's some wetlands in here, so we had filed a notice of intent, built a stormwater basin here. And now he's looking to consolidate. He has an operation in Lawrence as well, which is really just a warehouse. They're trying to pull both operations into one building. The principal use of this long, narrow building is manufacturing. The intent of this new addition in the back, which is about 23,000 square feet, is to house basically all warehousing. So they can do this, everything out of this facility. Right now, they're running shuttle trucks from here up to Lawrence and back and forth with finished materials. So this will be a much more efficient design for him. In so doing, we've created some new paved areas and parking areas to access the rear of the site. There'll be a small loading zone here with 2 trucks here. We've spent a lot of effort in screening and protecting our neighbors in the past, and we'll continue to do so there. There's a real large vegetated area here. We've got a berm that will continue through and a fence as well to protect them. But the real reason we're here in front of conservation is there are wetlands down to the southern part of the property line, mostly off-site, but they do encroach on ours. That's the green line. The pink lines are 100-foot buffer zone. The only real work we have within the buffer zone is our new stormwater basins, and also really this T-shaped turnaround for the fire department, which they requested to have to get to the back of the building. You probably have a memo from engineering. There's a few items in there that we've addressed, or I have addressed since receiving that. We've been to planning as well. His biggest concern or thing that I have to prove to him is they didn't witness the soils test. We had them done by a licensed soils evaluator, which is commonly what we do, but we're going to do them again so that he can see them and witness our groundwater depths. The intent is next time we come back before you that we have a letter from him that's saying all stormwater is fine and meets his approval.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer any questions. It's fairly straightforward.
This is a public hearing, correct? Anybody in the public like to comment? Seeing none. Board members, Mr. Rohrabacher.
No questions.
My question, are you using that building up front now?
Which one? This?
No,
They're
the
using
long
the
one.
entire building, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is all basically manufacturing. This is a small warehouse they added a few years back with loading here. So right now they load everything in here and it weaves its way out through this way. Now they want to, a lot of their manufacturing equipment is actually here. So
And the bridge is down lower, right?
I'm sorry?
The bridge is, there's a bridge there
Yeah,
next to you people.
yeah, it's down further.
I'm good.
Ms. McMullen?
No questions.
Mr. Ronan?
Has the fire department reviewed these plans?
They have. They actually had a lot of input when we first started. And that's really where the turnaround came. We talked about a few different ways to make sure they could service the rear here. We've added a hydrant on the back here and one over here, and it's a fully sprinkled building, so they were comfortable with their access points and where we're locating things.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I only have the one question, and the red line is the 100.
That's the 100-foot. Yeah, the blue no build is actually in here, and the no disturb is,
So everything you're doing is outside the no build?
yeah, there's a tiny bit of grading
Yeah, but
outside.
that's okay.
Yeah, but everything we're doing is outside.
All right, I have no more questions, but we're going to have to continue this because you don't have a DEP number.
And I'm not done with engineering, frankly, so
Okay.
that's fine. I expected that. I just wanted to see if there were
No, it
any
looks good.
the board had other than that.
I love to see things moving forward.
Okay, so I'm going to entertain a motion to continue the public hearing, notice of intent, Pepsi Corporation, 600 Reuben Street, map 3, lot 82, DEP number pending. Is there a specific date you would like this to continue, or the next
Once
meeting?
a month or
Twice a month.
twice? Probably the first one in March makes sense for
And
me.
that would be,
March 4th?
Assuming planning doesn't need you to close, correct? Most likely.
I think they will.
I talked
No,
to
I
them
mean, the
about it.
projects are, you're going to both boards kind of at the same time, so it won't be that much of an issue.
Yeah, they talked about closing, and then they'll issue a decision in the second one after that, which would be outside of you guys, I believe, as well.
So we're going to what, March?
I think so.
March 4th?
Yeah, I want to make sure we get the test bits and come back with a memo that says nothing.
So can I have a motion to continue notice of intent, Pepe Corporation, 600 Woburn Street, map 3, lot 82, DEP number pending to the March 4th meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you. Not yet? Okay, so now we're done. All right, item J, public hearing, notice of intent, Andrew Cole, National Grid, 394/397 Transmission Line Road, map 36, lot 2, DEP number pending.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Portante with BSC Group.
My name's Andrew Cole with National Grid Licensing and Permitting Group.
So the proposed activities are to conduct 2 soil borings at structure 5 along the 397 transmission line right-of-way. The access to the right-of-way is obtained from Power Company Road behind the large substation, Tewksbury 22. The line itself runs through a large wetland system. So to access the location of the borings, they will be installing temporary construction matting to provide a stable work platform and in a manner to protect the wetland system for access to conduct the activities.
Okay, Stefania, any issues?
No, we don't have a DEP number for this project either, so we'll have to continue it. I did mention a possible condition earlier when I spoke to them, just I would recommend that there's some kind of report or photo documentation for at least 2 growing seasons, once the mats are removed, so we can make sure everything is reestablishing.
This is a public hearing. Anybody like to speak on this? Seeing none. Board members?
No issues. It's good.
No, no problem.
I have one. In section 5, proposed mitigation techniques, you mentioned that a section provides a summary, where is it? NEP provides construction crews with environmental training prior to the start of work and implements environmental monitors for site compliance. And I believe it says that it's found in attachment E. I don't see anything like that in attachment E.
Is that the other document?
Are you referring to the EG 303?
I don't see anything, but
Yeah, so I believe that is
Yeah.
provided, the best management practices that were included in the filing.
All right.
That's what it refers to.
All right.
But we do provide compliance monitoring for the project. Yeah,
Thank you.
that is a standard.
Okay, I have no questions, and there's no DEP number. So we're gonna have to continue this, so particular date?
Your next meeting, in the hope
Okay, we can do
it's
that.
processed.
Okay, I need to entertain a motion for continuance of notice of intent, Andrew Cole, National Grid, 394, 397, Transmission Line Row, map 36, lot 2, DEP number pending. Can I have it, that in the form of a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you.
Thank
See you
you.
next meeting. All right. Item K, public hearing notice of intent, Patricia Donahue, Live Life Homes, 60 Shawshene Avenue, map 112, lot 69, DEP number pending.
You know, I'm not. Boy, they sure, you know, if you look at the maps, huh? You see how.
If you can introduce yourself for the record and sign the...
Good evening.
the sheet.
My name is David Cowell. I'm a senior wetland scientist with Hancock Associates here on behalf of the applicant Patricia Donahue. We filed a notice of intent to permit a tear-down rebuild of a single-family house located at 60 Shawshene Avenue. As you had pointed out administratively, we don't have our DEP file number. I was hoping to give an opening presentation this evening. I know that in communication with Stefania, there were some, she visited the site, had some comments that hopefully we can either discuss tonight, and by the time of our next hearing, we could have additional information in.
Okay.
So let's start with the existing additions in the wetland resource area. In the existing addition, there's an old single-family house. Is it condemned? It's been dilapidated. The proposal is to tear down the house and build a new single-family house. The property is located off of Shawshene Ave. You can see by the contour lines there, this is an incredibly steep embankment that goes down, and at the toe of that slope, there's bordering vegetative wetlands. So this is elevated up above that. I do want to talk about alternatives analysis. We are proposing a minor encroachment into the 50-foot no-build zone with the house. When this, in efforts to avoid, minimize, and mitigate, when this initially came to us, it was conceptualized to have, let me look at this. Conceptually, when it first came to us, the concept plan that we had for the house included 60 or 36% of the house in the no build zone. In communications with Stefania, it sounded like if we were able to demonstrate efforts to avoid, minimize, and mitigate, that it may be permissible to develop no greater than 10%. So in response to that, we reduced the size of the house such that now we're proposing 9% of the no-build zone, some elements of construction in there. The site constraint, it's a constrained site in the sense that there's the zoning constraints, the zoning setbacks from the side of the property and from the frontage. As proposed, we've exhausted that zoning constraints in terms of we tried to find a house that is more rectangular and elongated in nature that would keep us closer to the road and not put us as far back as possible. It is a modular home design. So one of the, it's a bit counterintuitive that if we were to reduce the size of the house, it's actually more expensive to do a custom house versus the modular design. So there is economic considerations in terms of reducing the house into a custom house actually drives costs up rather than down. As proposed, due to the steep gradient embankment there, we've proposed a retaining wall, which also reduces our necessity to grade as far back as possible. The retaining wall would support the structure above it. One of the questions from Stefania was the height on the wall is it's greater than 4 feet, so that requires a structural engineer as opposed to a civil engineer. But as proposed, we're confident that our footprint would not be any greater even with structural engineering design for that retaining wall. In efforts to mitigate for our disturbances, in the 50-foot no-build zone, the buffer zone on the property, there is opportunity to remove invasive species. Stefania was asking to what extent. We're proposing wholesale removal of anything that's in there. I did observe species like glossy buckthorn, multiflora rose. There was some burning bush in there as well. So we would propose to do wholesale treatment of that. In replacement of invasive species removed, we would propose a planting plan of native species in replacement. One of the concerns was the steep gradient nature of that embankment and what we can do in terms of plantings. We would propose a native seed mix. I'd probably propose like a New England conservation seed mix from New England Wetland Plants, which I think is a great seed mix that would provide some vegetative ground cover that would also aid in stabilization of the slopes there, which are subject to some erosion. And some shrubs. You know, we would look at species like sweet pepper bush, I don't know that I put winter, it transitions into upland very abruptly. It's a very distinct prominent wetland line that immediately transitions into uplands. So we may even look at some facultative upland species, either, not carex, Caria, which is like a hophorn beam or, yeah, we have, and that's one of the things that I presume that we would provide to you prior to the next hearing would be an actual restoration plan with invasive species management and planting plan.
Okay.
With that, I'll open it up to questions, yeah.
Would anybody in the audience like to speak? This is a public hearing. Seeing none. Board members?
No questions?
Looks like a tight one, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's a squeeze, yeah.
Right, I just read here, you're gonna, if you have to move any material, you're gonna check with Stefania.
Yep.
And, you know, to store it on the site, right?
What, for materials management in terms of?
If you have any material you store, you're gonna just put, check with Stefania.
Yep,
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah, I think I carried, in the narrative, I carried standard best management practices for construction such as soil stockpiling would be maintained as far away. I think that the majority of the site is 100-foot buffer zone. You can actually see that it encroaches all the way out to the roadway. So we would manage any material stockpiling as close to the roadway as possible, flat level areas with secondary containment where we would have, you know, a second set of, any stockpiling would be corralled with sediment
Okay.
controls.
Mr. McMillan?
No questions.
Mr. Ronan? Okay, I only have one question. You brought it down to the 9%,
Yes.
and where is the 9% in regards to the wetlands? Is it evenly distributed, the 9%, or is it just, poof, 9%?
No, it's more, again, it's more elongated.
Okay, that's my question. If it's elongated, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, again, we're still pushing as far out, and we've, again, with the rectangular design, it's not, you know, 9% jetting all the way out. I forget what our shortest distance from wetland to proposed development is. I may have put that in the plan. Normally, we'll carry the shortest distance. I can provide that to you if necessary.
That was actually my only question for now.
Okay.
Again, second chance, anybody in the audience? Seeing none. Stefani, you have anything?
Yeah, he discussed a lot of my concerns. After going out there, it's an interesting site. The slope is steep.
It's abrupt.
So, yeah, my big concern is construction and how to deal with the slopes and stabilizing during construction. So those will be things that I just want more information on.
Okay, yep.
So that would be.
Happy to provide
yeah.
that prior to the next hearing. In terms of sequencing of how we propose to install sediment controls, you know, I imagine they would get in and install sediment controls first. The retaining wall would be the first thing that would be constructed. You're right, absolutely. Stabilizing the slope while they clear vegetation.
Yeah, I'm assuming, and then backfilling.
Yep.
And then from there, how do we stabilize so that we can safely proceed with the rest of the site?
Right,
Just so nothing's falling down.
Yep, yep, absolutely. That's a credible concern. Yep, happy to respond to that.
Okay. No other questions, board members, nothing? Okay, I'm going to entertain a motion to continue the notice of intent. Patricia Donahue, Live Life Homes, 60 Shaw Sheen Avenue, map 112, lot 69, DEP number pending. And you would like to come to the next meeting, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to continue it to our next meeting. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Oh, the fee. Okay, yeah.
Okay, next on the agenda is a public hearing notice of intent, Michelle Marks, New England Power Company, Utility Row, across from 10 Carter Street, map 103, lot 2, DEP number pending.
Hello. So my name's Kellen Constance from VHB, representing New England Power Company. I've been in business as National Grid.
My name is Shona Patasteas, also with the DHB.
And the project we're presenting is, it's on Lumber Lane in Tewksbury. And it's a structure replacement and a utility right-of-way. It's located within a wetland, a bordering vegetated wetland. Currently, the structure is leaning to one side because one of the foundations on the existing structure is no longer structurally sound, and that needs to be replaced.
So it's a safety issue?
Correct, yes. And essentially what National Grid is proposing is to install a new structure approximately 50 feet northwest, evidently, of the structure. And this is going to be constructed of micropiles, which is essentially 2 sets of 3 micropiles. And on top of that, it's going to be a concrete pile cap to which the structure is going to be installed on. And essentially that's, it's a new thing that National Grid is trying out, and to reduce wetland impacts, and also just for like problem sites for in wetlands, see how successful that type of structure is. And let's see. Yeah, as mentioned, wetland resources will be protected through a suite of mitigation measures, avoidance and minimization. Obviously, this is a structure replacement, it's a safety issue in order to keep the utility line functioning and have no issues happen from that. Best management practices will be implemented, construction matting to get to the structure, prevent rutting, compaction of soil, wetland soils, and disturbance of vegetation. Erosion control barriers, mostly we'll install some near the entrance to the construction matting, just so if there's any rutting, any erosion that occurs, that will be contained by the erosion control barriers. Soil stockpiling, refueling. Refueling will be done outside of wetland resource areas and buffer zones, and then stockpiling. We're not anticipating much, but those will be contained, and we'll make sure that there's a proper, whether it's matting on the, some sort of barrier on the matting so that sediments do not fall through to wetlands. Dewatering, if necessary, will be done with a filter bag outside the resource, whether it's having hoses run from the construction area outside of the resource, or containing it in some sort of tank on the mats. And also, as mentioned, that an environmental monitor will be on site just to monitor such work. It is a limited project under the Wetland Protection Act, construction, reconstruction, operation, maintenance of overhead public utilities. And requesting this NOI because essentially there is a structure where 50 feet northwest of where it's being installed. Impacts associated with the new structure is it's 112 square feet, which is a conservative estimate. That's the footprint of the pile cap. But as mentioned with micropiles, this is gonna be installed to sit a little above the where the wetland is, and hopefully have fewer impacts than that underneath. And also removal of the existing structure is going to be determined in field. Often with some of these structures, we don't know the extent of where the foundations go down to. So we're going to see how it fits in the field with having the least amount of wetland impacts while removing as much of the existing structure as possible.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Would anybody in the public like to speak? Seeing none. Board members, Mr. Robacher.
No questions.
Mr. Sheehan.
I have no questions.
Mr. McMillan.
What's the depth to the bottom of the piles?
Of the piles?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I have an exact answer for you, but obviously they're gonna go deep enough so that it's structurally sound, and we're not gonna have that same issue of the structure kind of leaning and affecting the stability of the structure.
Running anything?
All set?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm all set. No DEP number. So, you would like to come back for the next meeting?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to continue public hearing, notice of intent, Michelle Marks, New England Power Company, Utility Row, across from 10 Carter Street, map 103, lot 2, DEP number pending. A motion continue to our next meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next we have a request for certificate of compliance. Kenneth Carapalucci, 100 Regina Drive, map 99, lot 107, DEP 306 1063. Is there anyone here for that? Or do we just-
Yep.
Ken Carapalucci, 100 Virginia S Drive, I'm the owner.
Any issues, Stefania?
No, so I went on site, so I took a look at the conditions that were in the original order of conditions, which had required that they leave a 10-foot buffer next to the wetlands, because previously it was just lawn and then the wetlands next to the pond. And I did see that they had stopped mowing in that area, and they did put up some signs. The only thing that I would say, it's hard to see if the comp flood storage was done, because the comp flood storage would have been so minimal. It would have been a shovel's worth of comp flood storage. It's really just for the footings of the deck. So I can't make that determination, but.
Okay. Board members, any questions?
No questions.
Dennis?
I'm good.
No questions.
No questions.
And I have no questions. All right, this is not a public hearing, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the request for certificate of compliance for Kenneth Carapalucci, 100 Regina S Drive, map 99, lot 107, DEP 306 1063. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next is enforcement order ratification, Peter and Christine Strickler, 71 Sesame Street, map 9, lot 59. Is there anyone here for that?
My name is Peter Strickler, 71 Sesame Street.
Christine Strickler, 71 Sesame Street.
Okay, and we're here for an enforcement order ratification. And Stefania, can you fill us in?
Yes, so I went out to the site because they had pulled a building permit for a shed. There was an area that had been filled where they had wanted to put the shed, and it did abut wetlands, so that is why the enforcement order was issued. So in the enforcement order, it had stated to stop all work, put up an erosion control for myself to take a look at, which I did, and it is correct and in the right area. And also to have a wetland scientist come out and delineate the areas and determine the extent of the impacts. I know that the homeowners would like to discuss that condition here today. So we can kind of see what they want to say. I know that they are willing to move the shed and might not want to do the wetland scientist, so the commission can decide. I did take a look at the wetlands. It's pretty obvious. There's wetlands next to where the fill is, and there is an area where, in the back of the property, where it would not be considered wetlands. So I think that if we're willing to remove the fill, then it might not be necessary to have them hire a wetland scientist, as long as they're willing to kind of take care of the issue. But I can have them talk.
So I just want to say first off that we had no idea that this area was considered wetlands. We have a drainage easement that we know about that's commonly wet. But this part of the lawn has never been brought to our attention that this is wetlands. In all the permits that we've pulled in the past for a pool and for our sewer hookup, this was never mentioned to us. So, where we've proposed to put this shed is directly on top of the abandoned leach field that's in our backyard.
And we have all the previous paperwork that shows that the conservation said, no concern, no concern, no concern, for any of these things. So we had no idea that it was wetland.
So one of my concerns is if we go ahead with this, the wetlands delineation, what's the likelihood that we would get we would be turned down for this location? Based on what you see
How
there.
big is the shed?
It's 8 feet by 12 feet.
It would it meets the exemption if it's 50 feet away, so I had suggested maybe moving it so that they didn't have to come back for a permit.
So what we would be doing is we'd be moving it to the current location. We actually have a shed right now that's dilapidated, and I want to remove it. And one of the reasons why we wanted to put it where we proposed to put it is for aesthetics, for one, and also the current location is essentially on my neighbor's property line. And so we wanted to move it away from that and put it, basically, if you look at the property with what's been marked as wetlands on GIS, everything is within 100 feet.
Our house is within 100.
So it makes it very difficult to site it. So
But the shed that you're proposing is within how many feet?
At least 5. It's close,
fundamentally,
it's right there.
on the edge
Yeah.
of the lawn, which, you could,
And we have a picture we can show you of,
Oh, she's got plenty of pictures.
yeah, no, I mean of what it looked like prior to when we had the gravel put down.
Oh, that would be great.
I mean, we
Yeah.
have other stuff, but.
it's probably inside here.
I think it is in this one. Sorry.
So my main thing is I don't want to spend the money on wetland scientist. If it's just going to get turned down anyway, I'm going to have to spend money to move this site this
Yeah.
pad
This
that
one's
we.
not really, this one, we'll show you. So like this is where the previous septic tank was. That's back when that was the septic tank, and it's right along here where this tree is now. That's- I know. We weren't really taking a picture of the candy cane, but that's what we had. But I mean, it's challenging because we haven't made the plans. And we just want to go shed. It's not fun.
I guess we would have to see, is the Conservation Commission comfortable with my determination of the wetlands and having them kind of remove what fill they can and return it to grade? Or do they want them to go ahead with the delineation just to show kind of the same thing that I
If you're gonna move this shed, I don't have a problem with it, and they won't have to come back with it. I mean, it's an 8 by 12-foot shed, and I'm not gonna put somebody, you're gonna spend more money on the wetland size than you did on the shed. I don't have a problem with that. Mr. Rohrabacher?
No, no problems.
I agree with you, Pat. No problem.
No problem.
Okay, so we're gonna go with,
So we should still ratify the enforcement order, and
well,
then
that's all we have to do.
amend it.
Right.
So we would amend it to take out the condition that they need and to hire wetland scientists, and then do you want them to remove the fill? I mean, they still have fill abutting the wetlands that would have needed a permit, so my recommendation is that what fill can be removed should be removed, just because it would have required a permit, so.
Okay. So, I'm going to entertain a motion to ratify the enforcement order for Peter and Christine Strickler.
Strickler. Sorry.
Strickler, 71 Sesame Street, map 9, lot 59. With the not having to use a wetland scientist and to remove as much fill as possible that is abutting the wetland, and then we can put a shed.
Move the shed outside.
Move the shed outside.
And do you want to give a timeline?
A year,
A year?
yeah.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well, thank you.
Just one last question. So with this, do we need to come back to do the determination, or are we
Thank
done
you.
with it?
We're done.
If we find a spot for the shed to be outside the 50 feet, which it's possible, then no. But if you want to keep the shed there, then yes.
Okay,
So I guess you'd let me know.
okay.
Thank you.
Now we got item O, extension for permit order of conditions, Sergeant James F. Mackey III, 47 Riverdale Avenue, map 48, lot 150, DEP number 305965.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Okay. And we're within the correct time frame here, Stefania, I assume?
Yep. And this is for a 3-year extension.
Correct.
Okay, what is the, was it February 16th, 2018?
No, so there was an extension that was issued, and that was extended until March 26, 2020.
Okay, so we want to add 3 years, it's 2023. All right, board members, any questions?
I have no questions.
No question.
No questions.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to grant the extension of permanent orders of conditions, Sergeant James F. Mackey III, 47 Riverdale Avenue, map 98, lot 150, DEP number 305965, to, let me see, February, or March, it's set to expire, so,
March 26, 2023.
yes, March 26th of 2023. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. And we're back to, which one's this one?
E.
Okay, E. All right, this is a continued public hearing from January 2020, public hearing, notice of intent. John Mangano, 371 Foster Road, map 57, lot 207, DEP 305-1104.
You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good evening. My name is Maureen Herald from North Environmental Services. Here with me tonight is John Mangano. We filed a notice of intent with the commission to raise an existing dwelling, construct a new single-family dwelling, deck, driveway, provide rooftop infiltration. The site itself will be serviced by municipal town sewer and water. The resource areas on site include a bordering vegetated wetland that's colored in green on your plan. And we also have Heath Brook. That is a perennial stream, and it has an associated 200-foot riverfront area. The 200-foot riverfront area is colored in purple. So as you can see on the plan, the majority of the work is located within the 200-foot riverfront area. We do comply with the regulations with proposing to disturb less than 10%. The structure is proposed 52 feet from the wetland itself. The deck is proposed 40 feet. What we'd like to do is raise the existing dwelling, that is 17.6 feet from the wetland line, essentially restore that area, take that house out, plant a few pine trees in that area, as well as supply a conservation wildlife mix, and just let that area come back. And I can open it up to the commission if you have any questions or concerns.
Stefania?
Yes. Okay, I can just kind of fill the commission in, since we continued the last meeting. It was continued to just verify the location of the Heathbrook, which they did through a GIS map. So I had taken a look at that, and I thought that that was acceptable compared to the map online. And then, let's see, so I do want to note that part of the driveway that is existing is on the abutter's property. This section right here. So, let's see. So then the proposed driveway will also be going in that area as the plans are in front of us. Because that is on another site, they would need to notify for term terrace, which was not done in this application, or they could eliminate the work on that property and altogether. So I think that they've kind of come up with their plan of how they're gonna go about that.
Right, so we didn't file, this property line's kind of funky, as you can see on the plan. It's part of 40-term terrace where the driveway enters off of Foster Road. We didn't file for that particular property, and honestly, that was my error, because I didn't realize that that was on 40-term terrace. But we do have an existing easement onto that property. So if we're going to improve that section of the driveway, we're gonna have to come back to the commission for that improvement. Improvement meaning widening, paving, anything of that nature. What I'd like the commission to do, if possible, is just vote on this 371 Foster Road this evening, and then come back for the other portion for the driveway, if we do upgrade it. Can you see the property line? It's kind of confusing on that line,
right?
Yeah. And that's why the utilities, the sewer and the water, are going through, we're proposing it through the 25-foot no disturb. That's the hatch marking on the plan, because the only right we have for this easement is the driveway, and it doesn't include the utilities. So as part of the filing, we have to show the sewer and water through the 25-foot. So that obviously that would be clearing trees if necessary. And we're proposing to apply a seed mix there, as well as plant a few trees. And that's approximately 670 square feet.
So if they do plan on eliminating the driveway from this submission and just focus on the work that's on 371 Foster Road, the commission could condition that no work is approved on 40-term terrace, and that they would need to receive an amendment or come back for a new order, however they wanted to deal with that. Or the commission could require new plans that eliminate the work on the plans. So I don't know how you want to handle it.
Well, the person who's gonna come back for the edge of the driveway, they don't own the land, is gonna be the person who owns the land, correct?
I think that that's something that,
We'll work on.
yeah, the two property owners need to work on that and come up with an agreement. I'm not gonna pretend to understand the easements and all that, and I don't think it's this board's job to make those determinations. I think that's something that the property owners need to figure out.
Would you entertain if we bent the driveway through that utility area?
Where the sewer and water is proposed, where the hatch markings are. So a portion of that is within the 25-foot. But it would be as far along the property line
Then
as
we
we
don't
could
have the issue
possibly
with the
do it.
abutter.
But then it's very close.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we're also, we need to put the sewer and the water utilities in that area as well, so some work.
But they don't disturb as much. I mean, you disturb it once and it's done. Whereas the driveway is there forever.
It's permanent. Well, we can certainly come back. I mean, we can take a look at the easement issue and make sure that all parties are on board with that. And then if we do upgrade the driveway on 40 Term Terrace, obviously we need to come back to the commission, get your approval prior to any of that work being performed.
I think that would be the best option.
Okay.
This is a public hearing. Would anybody like to speak? Sir?
Good evening.
Could you introduce yourself for the record?
Yes, my name is Neil Schiebel, and I currently reside at 40 Term Terrace. So I have a question for the committee and a statement. My question is, if the proposed site and the contractor were to make adjustments to the driveway, would they have to come back and file a different variance?
If there's no agreement that comes with whatever your neighbor is, or himself there, then they're not gonna be able to do anything, because it's his property, you know? Then we would go back to and just vote on what they can do on the lot, put it that way, to keep it simple.
Right.
You know? So again, I would suggest that we continue, and you guys can work something out, and then we can. Yeah, that's up to you, but I'm gonna ask the board members if they have it. Do you have anything else, sir, by the way? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. My only other comment was a statement that I have not been approached in any way in regards to using my property for an easement for a driveway. And I just wanted to make that public
Okay.
record.
So that's getting down to the point where that's gonna be a planning board issue too, so whether there's an easement there or not. So I would get that resolved. Board members, any questions?
Well, I mean, if you can't get that resolved,
Then it's gonna
he's gonna
have,
have to come
right,
close, and he's gonna have to come back to us to talk about
Yeah.
the driveway.
mhm.
My client's anxious to start work. Would it be possible just to approve what's on 371 Foster, so it doesn't affect him or his land? And then in the meantime, we can start the appeal period, and they can work out whatever it is with the easement, and regardless, I have to come back to the commission.
Yeah, but I think you're gonna have to come back as a different notice of intent.
We couldn't amend this one if we requested the commission to have the driveway where the utilities are. Let's say this easement dispute doesn't get worked out.
Well, what I'm saying is he owns the property, not you.
Right.
So he's the one that's gonna have to apply for the notice of intent. He owns the property, you don't. You know,
Right, but
I'm just going through the motions here.
Right.
That you can't put a notice of intent in for him, because he didn't,
Correct.
you know what I mean?
Correct.
So, my thing is, I think you're better off just negotiating something with him and coming back for the whole thing, and then we can attach it to the notice of intent, that he has agreed to this. And if he doesn't agree, then you gotta go to Plan B, and maybe we'll have to do that, yeah?
Fair enough.
mean, it's up to you. You want to continue?
You want to continue? Yes, please.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, can I have a motion? It is a public hearing.
Don't close.
Are you all done, sir, speaking? Okay.
E.
E. Okay, can I have a motion to continue the public hearing, notice of intent? John Mangano, saying that right? 371 Foster Road, map 57, lot 207, DEP 3051104. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So we'll
Thank
see you at
you.
the next meeting.
Sure.
Lease operation. Leases.
All right. Moving on to old business, any old business?
Nope.
Define. Any new business?
I'm sorry, no.
No new business? The only new business I have, welcome you guys to the board, thank you. Administrators reports.
He wants to ask something.
That's gas, we don't close the public hearing, right? Oh, we continue, we didn't.
Yeah, we continue. You can, if you want to ask me after.
I'm sorry?
You can ask me after. Yep.
Administrators report.
No, nothing right now.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Chair votes aye as well, thank you, Christopher.